And welcome back to the European Commission in Brussels for the second part of Talking Europe, where I'm joined by Louis Michel. He's a leading member of the European Parliament from the Belgian Liberals. Mr. Michel, thank you very much for being with us. Now, just a reminder, you served as EU Commissioner for Development and Humanitarian Aid. That was in the Barroso I Commission. Prior to that, you served as Foreign Minister of Belgium. You were very much involved in African issues. And you're the father of the current Belgian Prime Minister, Charles Michel. Let's start with the emergency summit, which took place on Thursday in Brussels. EU leaders agreed to triple the budget for Triton, that's the EU border control mission in the Mediterranean. Will it make a difference? Will it save more lives at sea?
Well, I hope, of course, that it will be possible with these measures to make it better, but I'm not so sure, because all in all, when I am reading what was decided Thursday, I have the impression that they didn't go very far and not far enough. I am a little, personally, I'm a little bit disappointed.
Why didn't the leaders
because you have always to live with some very personal, very egoistic positions. You don't have really an integrated Europe for the moment on all these issues. That's the problem. Some countries are generous, are ready to go farther and to be more ambitious. Other countries don't want to follow. If you take, for instance, the new countries, for instance, are not very willing on this kind of
Central
issues.
European countries, the Baltic states, they should do more, they should welcome more migrants?
My belief is that all the countries in Europe have to do more and have to be to play the solidarity. It's not normal. Sweden is making really a very special effort. Germany too. If you take, for instance, in comparison, Czechia has 1,400 people to manage, with Belgium 22,000 people, and the countries are the same. So yeah.
Now, EU leaders also pledged to crack down on human traffickers, on smugglers who mainly operate from Libya. They want to destroy the ships that are being used by these smugglers. First of all, is it realistic?
To my opinion, it is realistic, and we have the means to do so. We have, of course, to be covered by a mandate of the United Nations, and so we will see what China and what Russia will do. But to my opinion, it's possible to do so, and I believe it is necessary to do so. You will not resolve the fighting against the smugglers with words and speeches and proactive measures on political level. You have to take really the force in order to get them down.
So would you welcome measures modelled on the current anti-piracy operations in the Horn of Africa?
I believe that's the right model, and we have the means to do so. But of course, also on that topic, you need the member states to have solidarity.
And as you said, you need Russia and China to agree.
Yeah,
is Russia likely to follow Europe?
I'm not so sure, but we will see. But at the end, all the countries in the world have to be really sensitive for this kind of problem. So we will see what will happen. But at the end, what I will really tell you is that we have to struggle strongly, fastly against these smugglers, because, and we have also, and I never heard it for the moment, we have also to point the governments of origin of all these people. We have to point out the problem of governance, for instance, in these countries. Why are countries with immense human and natural resources, why are these people so poor? This is a paradox. It is not acceptable.
You're pointing the finger at the corrupt elite that is ruling Africa today?
We have to do so. We have to show that it is not possible to accept to continue. For the moment, all the voices are saying Europe is guilty. Guilty. Europe is not guilty. Of course, we are tackling the problem in the wrong way. okay, we are not enough we don't show enough solidarity. But we must also point out those who are in charge with all these people in their own country and who are not doing what we are expecting them to do and what they have to do.
Well, interesting. You mentioned, of course, African countries. I remind our viewers that you served as EU Commissioner for Humanitarian Aid and Development. Now, as you know, the EU is working directly with some countries in West Africa to step up their domestic efforts to prevent would-be migrants from making the perilous journey in the first place. Let's watch our report brought to us by Delano de Souza.
Samakun Debele lives in Mali's capital along with his 2 children. Sent back from Europe numerous times, he recalls his last journey trying to make it across the Mediterranean.
We all boarded this little boat, the Sojak. There were 47 of us, even though we had been told there would only be 40. But they put more people on. We were really squeezed together. They said that they would feed us, give us water to drink, all the necessities, but it really wasn't the case. All we got was a small bit of bread and a litre of water. And we did 5 days at sea, like that.
As Europe grapples with the recent tragedies in the Mediterranean, small-scale efforts to reintegrate migrants who've been sent back are already underway. In Mali, the EU is helping fund village development work in the hopes it will improve the quality of life.
One of the objectives was that these small construction projects, building a school, toilets, a well for drinking water, things the population lacks, to be able to see the living conditions in their villages improve.
The European Union is hoping centres like this one, which it operates alongside the government of Mali, will help its efforts to stem the flow of migrants to Europe.
Louis Michel, the next emergency summit will bring together EU and Africa leaders in Malta. They will discuss border control, but also development projects. Why is it that the EU development projects in Africa have failed to deliver more?
I believe that they have delivered, of course, but I believe that the main problem is that it is the question of ownership. When you are going in a country in Africa and you have operators who are doing the projects very well, but at the end of the projects, when the project is finished, well, there is nobody to take it over and to continue. Very often, perennity doesn't really exist. And you have also another problem. All these governments, even when they are good governed, well, they have a lack of money in order to pay for public services, for justice, for administration, for education, for health policies. So that's the reason also why I was so in favor of what we call budget support, to pay directly the administrations in order to give them the possibility to deliver to their people. This is also a very important problem. There is a lack of state capacity in all these countries. You know, a good governed country, a democratic country, needs, of course, services, needs regalian services, a good justice, a good administration, good education projects and programs, teachers being paid, and all what makes a citizen in a certain sense, what makes him comfortable with his own life, with the capacity to develop himself.
Now let's move to another story. Your country, Belgium, as well as France, remain on high alert. As you know, this week, French authorities announced that they had foiled an imminent attack on churches in the Paris region. The suspected terrorist was arrested by chance because he accidentally shot himself. Attacks on Catholic churches, this is something unheard of in France's recent history.
This is, of course, very surprising, and it is, of course, a very alerting situation. But we are in the situation where you can have this kind of issue and this kind of situation every day.
Your country, Belgium, has the highest proportion of foreign fighters in Syria and Iraq. How do you explain that?
I believe that in my country, and we all, at a certain moment of our political history, played it, of course, with a certain difference in in emphasis about that. But I believe I really point out the problem of communautarism. We are pushing the people to feel themselves victims in a certain sense, and this is very bad. When you push people coming from outside to live together, to close their horizon on their self, you have a problem.
There's a lack of integration?
I believe a lack of. I don't like to speak about that because when you say there is a lack of integration, of course you have some fragile situations of integration. But when you see the very high number in my country of people coming from these, let us say, new Belgian generation, when you see
Turkey mostly.
Yeah, but when you see what those people are succeeding in, you have lawyers, you have scholars, you have teachers, you have doctors, you have a lot of people, and they are enriching Belgium. So I don't speak about integration, but what is the fact? Third, fourth generation, they don't feel themselves being a member of their original community, and they don't feel really at home in their country. So we have to work on that. And communautarism, to my opinion, is to put aside. That's not the good.
So what is the solution then for Belgium?
I believe that we have to maybe also to close the gap in some injustices. Because if you take, for instance, the young people of this origin, they have less chances to find a job. For instance, you have to work on that to be more. To push, to have them, for instance, as civil servants. All these things are good examples and are, to my opinion, are solutions.
Now, last month, French Prime Minister Manuel Valls unveiled a bill to allow intelligence agencies to tap phones and emails without seeking the permission from a judge. France made the proposals in the wake of the Charlie Hebdo attacks in January that killed 17 people. Let's watch our report.
Controversial powers that French lawmakers approved on their first reading in Parliament, measures that are meant to endow French intelligence agencies with the capabilities to prevent terrorist acts. Private residences can be monitored, geolocation used, and mobile communications can be intercepted, not just those of a suspect, but acquaintances of that person too. Web usage and online communication can also be monitored with the help of so-called black boxes. These can be plugged into the networks of service providers, website hosts, and other major online services. Their aim is to identify suspicious behavior among internet users. The law has been compared to the Patriot Act in the United States, but the man behind the new legislation has said that's not the case.
We are not going for widespread monitoring because the US has shown that to be useless. This is not going to be run on a predictive basis. We simply aim to ensure enhanced monitoring for those identified as threats.
There's also controversy over the bill's purpose. It details 7 situations in which monitoring can be employed. Those aren't only for the prevention of terrorism and reasons of national security, but also for foreign policy purposes and economic and scientific interests as well. These reasons are much too vague for renowned anti-terrorist judge Marc Trévidic.
The state may be tempted to watch over opponents of social movements or get political intelligence on protest movements at any given moment. The criteria is so vague in this law. It talks of national security, diplomacy, economic interests, that it gives huge flexibility to the Prime Minister.
French President François Hollande said he would ask the Constitutional Council to verify the proposed powers would not encroach on individual freedoms. Lawmakers are expected to vote on the bill in early May.
Louis Michel, French lawmakers have already signalled that they will approve the measures when it comes to a vote in May. Some call it a hastily put together law. Some worry that there aren't enough safeguards. We heard a judge say that maybe this law will be used for political purposes. Are we creating a monster in France?
No, I don't believe it is a monster, but we have, of course, to have all the safeguards. Of course, the authorities need much more possibilities and means in order to fight terrorism.
But if you sideline judges,
that doesn't mean
you don't...
It's the job of of the judges to alert us and to say, be careful. But at the end, to my opinion, we have to go further and to give more means to the authorities.
As I said at the beginning of the interview, you're also the father of the current Belgian Prime Minister, Charles Michel, who's he's at the helm of a four-party coalition. Now, the dominant party in the coalition is the NVA, the Flemish Nationalist Party. Their ultimate goal is the end of Belgium, the independence of Flanders. Is it a party you can do business with?
Until now, obviously, we can. We don't speak about linguistic nor communitarian problems in the government. The government page, the government program doesn't rise that at all. That was a condition for us to go in that government. We are working a lot on putting the house in order, in justice, also for the security problems and issues, and more than ever, we are of course engaged and committed with them in order to bring back prosperity and to make it possible for the Belgian enterprises to create jobs and to bring back prosperity in Belgium, and we believe strongly in it. Now, this is of course a good chance for that government to show that there is no need to be nationalist or to.
But will the NVA succeed in their ultimate goal? Is your country, Belgium, viable?
Well, this government action can be a masterpiece of the future for Belgium. If this government succeeds to stay in place during 5 years and to bring back economic prosperity and creating jobs, you will see that the aims or the political goals of NVA will not succeed in that case. But every party, as long as they are working in a democratic way, have the right, of course, to have their aims. I don't share these aims. I'm not a nationalist. I don't believe in nationalism. But at the end, this government can give a good chance to the future of Belgium.
Louis Michel, thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching this edition of Talking Europe. I was at the European Commission in Brussels. It's time to go back to Paris now for more news on France 24. Goodbye.